Excuse me. Hi, beautiful souls who picked pile number 4, or the heart chakra, and this gorgeous green Fuschite crystal here. This is going to be your reading. So for the heart chakra, the message that has come through is we've got green chakra goddess here. Now, from the Aboriginal chakra goddess, or goddess chakra oracle. The green chakra goddess is all about like balancing out her like self-love and sense of give and take, and like giving and reciprocity. Now, some of you might, because we also got the forgiveness card here, I feel like some of you might have been in a situation recently or in the past maybe where you might have perhaps let down some boundaries or something like that, or self-sacrifice a little bit, like ended up in a situation where you were over-giving, because often with the presence of the green chakra goddess, it's often kind of a signal to like balance that out, and balance out where you're giving and taking, and making sure that you're receiving as well, because she's standing here by the tree. She's got her hand sort of holding on to like lightly touching the trunk, as if she's gaining energy from the tree. And there's a lot of like brown and green earth energy, like leaves and, you know, the branches and the trunk of the tree. And then we've also got, with the red clover card, we've got the messages center and ground, and there's a picture of a heart in the middle. So it's like, in order to heal your heart and to replenish it before you attract in another healthy relationship, there is this need to kind of balance your heart chakra and like balance your give and take, and your self-love with love of others, or giving to others. And also maybe a message of like forgiveness, in terms of forgiving those who might have overtaken from you, or forgiving yourself perhaps more than anything for overgiving in the past. And also there might be some deeper work that may need to be done around like healing your inner child, and like tapping into your inner child, to restore that like sense of universal love, that sense of like sort of overall, like a rooted sense of self-love, so that you can love, it's like you can see this person's like centered in their heart, so that you can be more heart-centered and emanate that love. There's this like a spiral of like white light that's centered in their heart, that's emanating out from them, like a love of the universe, and that energy will attract in your person, or your soulmate, your love relationship. But it's like quite necessary to kind of anchor in that first. And I feel like with the inner child and forgiveness cards here, it's like there's perhaps a little bit of a piece around, and center and ground around, like, you know, grounding, some sort of releasing something from the past, and learning to balance your energies and ground into the earth, so that you can like receive the nourishment from the earth, and forgive something from the past, and also maybe connect with your inner child and look at like maybe where this pattern of like overgiving, with the green chakra goddess being here, it's to do with like becoming perhaps a bit depleted and overgiving to others, and like self-sacrificing. It's like, why, asking your inner child like why you do that, because I feel like your inner child will have answers to that. It might be something that you need to forgive your child self for, because your child self might have taken on a burden, a responsibility that was not his or hers to carry. And they ended up being responsible maybe for the adults around them, or something like that, and they've carried sort of some kind of, you might have carried some kind of pattern into adulthood where you feel like you need to do the same thing. You need to sort of overgive in order to receive love. But like, if you can go through that healing process and find out where that stems from, and release and forgive yourself, and forgive your child self for doing that, because she or he didn't know any better at the time, and then you can anchor into your heart space, because it's almost like you've been if you're over giving, it's like you're trying to get love from the outside because you don't already have this like core, like you're not kind of anchored or rested in your heart and then emanating love out from your heart, which then magnetizes it back to you. It's like you're sort of abandoning yourself, if you like, a little bit, maybe not quite that extreme, but you're over giving and over depleting, thinking that you need to do these things for other people in order to get love from them or get to sort of get reciprocity or receive. But it's like actually not about that. It's about like anchoring in this like sense of, it's like an eminence, like, well, it's actually like this card, the nectar. It's like this beautiful rose in the heart that's just your loving essence. And there's a lot of like peachy color here, which is also quite and we've got forbidden fruit with the apple, which has also got more sort of peachy color. And then Aphrodite, which is this, Aphrodite is all about sort of self-love and self-worth first. So before you can go out and magnetize in a relationship, you need to be really anchored in your own self-love and self-worth, and your own, like, knowing that you have that nectar within. That's very sort of Aphrodite energy. It's very like sensual energy, like seeing your own beauty, seeing your own worth, seeing your own love, seeing your own self for who you really are. But before you do that sort of process of like coming into that beautiful goddessy, tapping into that nectar, it's like there's this sort of inner child and forgiveness piece that you might need to work through a little bit first. And I'm sensing with the pink here as well, like rose quartz crystal could be really helpful for you. Rose quartz crystal is all about like unconditional love and self-love and self-healing. It's a very healing crystal. Fuschite is also very healing, especially for any like trauma and tapping into unconditional love as well. So either of those crystals would potentially be really helpful for you for healing your inner child, any inner child wounds there. But it's almost like once you've worked through that piece and done that forgiveness work and let go of that pattern, consciously ask God, Goddess to let go of, or your heart chakra, to let go of that need for external approval and love on the outside, and forgive yourself and let go of that pattern. And then you can come into this beautiful, like, it's almost like it will be very healing. It's almost like this is like medicine for you. It's like an elixir. In fact, connecting with nature, because there's so much green and like nature symbolism here with the tree, the woman standing by the tree, the flowers here around the outside of the heart. You know, the apple and the flowers here with the apple and the apple blossom. There's just a lot of like green and nature, and the green chakra goddess is all about like connecting with the green, like being out in green literally does help heal your heart chakra, because the heart chakra resonates and vibrates at the frequency of like green, and then the green of Mother Nature. So by virtue of just being out in Mother Nature and connecting with trees or connecting with green and going on like healing walks, that could be very helpful for you. And then also as the other color of the heart chakra is pink, so then also then connecting with like flowers and you know, the most beautiful, sensuous, loveliest, most gorgeous smelling flowers in the garden, and just taking the time to just smell a lovely flower. I know that sounds really trite and lame and like, what's that going to do for anything? Like, how is that going to help me find someone? But it's about tapping into that goddess Aphrodite essence. It's about like recognizing yourself as that rose and as that flower essence. Now, the other thing I'm being drawn to say is things like rose essential oil could be really useful for you. That's a very goddessy oil. It has a very beautiful heart healing vibration to it. So rose essential oil, but also rose hip essential oil as well. Either of those can be very healing and be like an elixir or a medicine for your heart, and help you sort of just energetically work through these inner child wounds, or any wounds to your ability to like anchor in your heart and vibrate and consistently feel a sense of universal love, so that you then just magnetize that to you the way Aphrodite did. She was just so grounded in her goddessy essence, you know, in her beautiful, womanly, sensual, self-loving, self-worthy essence, that she just magnetized what she wanted to her. And that is absolutely available to you. But there's just first this piece around sort of balancing and healing some of these potential inner child, or just really connecting with your inner child. And you know, you could do that through even walks in nature that are very mindful, and asking us, you know, just seeing what your inner child is drawn to as you're out in nature. You know, there might be little pebbles or little flowers or little certain leaves or certain trees, and there might be messages from within nature that help you heal. You know, your inner child is a bit like spirit, and that, especially if you were a very young child when you might have taken on this wound, it won't communicate to you necessarily through you know, a big long discussion. It will be through symbols and through, you know, seeing you know, number synchronicities, seeing things out in nature, being visited by certain, you know, maybe even animals or instincts, having like ladybirds land on your hand, for example. Little things like that can be like little communications from your inner child. So just maybe take the time to really tune in with your inner child and see what she or he needs, and how best to come into this, like, to work through this forgiveness piece first. I feel like there's something that needs to be kind of revealed, almost like your inner child kind of contains the answers for you, but you're going to need to communicate with your inner child to find that out, to tap into that, before you'll be able to really forgive your young self and forgive yourself for going through those patterns. Okay, I'm just being guided to go to the these cards here are from this gorgeous Herbery deck by Maya Toll, and I've just been guided to check the message for Apple, which is on page 32. Okay, so Apple has been given grief since in the beginning, when she learned that feeding people and teaching them to know themselves can be a dangerous thing. She became associated with snakes, shame, and fig leaves, and it's been all dance lessons, curtsies, and domestication from there. Apple is the witch of the wild wood, forced to clean up and come in for tea, but a skirt and pumps can't hide her knowledge of the circling stars and cycling seasons, the deep loam of the earth, and the warm weep of a summer rain. We may think that we've tamed wild Apple and brought her to heel, but even quasi-domesticated, she still gifts us with the sweetness of understanding ourselves. Apple asks, what have you forbidden yourself? Yeah, and I feel like with the nectar, Aphrodite, forbidden fruit, and apple, there's this sort of message inherent here around like forbidding yourself a sort of essential pleasure, because Goddess Aphrodite is about like not just attracting a relationship for the sake of societal approval or childbearing or those types of things, But for pleasure, for love, for your own pleasure. And nectar is very much all about that. So there's a very strong message of things that might have been I'm hearing like subdued in you, or like suppressed is a better word than subdued. It's like your sensuality might have been a bit subdued, and in order to which is actually slightly more sacral, which is really more sacral chakra, but I feel like in order to really step into your feminine power and goddessy power and magnetizing a beautiful, loving, masculine presence in your life, whether it's a man or a woman, it's not gender specific, it's an energy. But to step into that beautiful Aphrodite feminine magnetic energy, it's like you've got to find that self-love, self-worth, self-pleasure within. And that involves like self-knowledge, self-investigation, what have you forbidden fruit, what have you forbidden yourself, what have you been not allowing yourself to do or feel. Forgiveness could even be forgiving yourself for like not kind of going after things that you really want in a way, for taking on that sort of maybe even some patriarchal programming or certain programming around that we all get handed down as women. It's insidious and inherent in society, that kind of Eve and the serpent, even the snake, like, oh, if you're sexual or sensual or enjoying yourself or being tapped into your goddessy energy and magnetizing in beautiful loving sexual relationships, that you're bad and evil or whatever. And so like the book said, it's like the apple's been sort of like, oh, it's seen as this seductive poison, and so we're all shamed through religion and various other things to kind of suppress that part of ourselves. And actually that's wrong. It's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. It's completely natural part of ourselves. It's a completely natural part of how we love, of how we find self-love and then emanate that love out and attract and magnetize love back to us is through like loving nature and loving like ravishing in, is that the right word? Ravishing, like relishing. But maybe people, when you do the relishing of nature and the nectar in, like, say, a really juicy peach, for example, and then you embody and imbibe that kind of nectar energy within yourself, you will be ravished by someone. You'll be attracting people like freaking goddess Aphrodite left, right, and center is what I'm saying. Like it's a very, very magnetic energy. And men or the masculine can't resist a woman who is centered in her sacral chakra and like isn't shaming that and disowning that, and also her centered in her heart, because actually that heart energy, that being in that space of like self-worth and self-love and unconditional love for her own self, like really, really self-loving, not looking outward for love to the man to give it to, or to the masculine to give it to her, but self-loving from within first. And I know that sounds trite, I know that sounds lame, I know that sounds like, oh yeah, but like whatever, there are people who don't love themselves who still attract people. Well, to an extent, but as within, so without. And how often do those types of situations go? Do they really work out? Sometimes, in very lucky cases, the person that they end up with kind of loves them into loving themselves. But more often than not, relationships are usually a mirror, and a relationship will only mirror to you as much self-love as you feel for yourself. So if you don't really love who you truly are, and your inner child, and your inner nectar and inner like Aphrodite self, and inner, you know, sexual sensual self, like where have you repressed or suppressed or subdued your kind of goddessy self, and forgive that and let it all go and embrace it. That is so magnetic when you can center in that energy, that nectar energy, and you know, like you have a real knowingness around, like, you know, like, look at how this woman is kind of sitting in her heart. It's like you take up, it's like I'm hearing you're going to take up a throne in his heart, or in her heart, you know, whoever your masculine is, or whoever your person is that you're waiting for, because you're embodying love. You're emanating love out, and that magnetizes it back to you. You're not looking for it from someone else, or over-giving, or tipping into self-sacrificing, which is why we got the green chakra goddess here. You just are love. You're embodying it. You know your worth. Goddess Aphrodite knows her worth. You know, she knows, she loves herself. She knows her worth. She knows she's worthy of love and all good things. Yeah, that is the end of the message. I hope that resonated for some of you. I didn't go so much into tips, but I guess mostly just be out in nature, you know, celebrate your feminine self through things like dancing and things like that. I'm not sure, possibly the sacral chakra pile could be relevant to you as well. If you're being drawn, especially if you're being drawn to this like peachy coloring and the forbidden fruit aspect and the Aphrodite aspect, and you're wanting some tips to kind of like really activate that side of things as well, anything that might have been suppressed. But if you would like some extra support, I do offer holistic healing sessions where we go far more in depth into chakra healing, and I can do chakra activations and so forth. I'll leave my link below in the description box. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. If this resonated, please leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining the Elle's Temple community. It's been so lovely reading for you. All the best with your journey on magnetizing your love relationship in. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.